Hey guys, Chrono, and I wanted to have a discussion with you about the 2019 ban list that just came out here, and some big changes right off the bat. Of course, you can see the full list if you head to Konami's website, but Eclipse Werven is now forbidden or banned, and it really makes sense. It's got a great effect that is not a once per turn, and because of that, a lot of decks take advantage of that banish, like Thunder Dragons. So it really makes sense that they went ahead and banned this card. The next one that's forbidden now is the new Phantom Knights Link Monster. I think this is a great hit. There's way too much advantage that you're getting from this card, easily generating at least a +2 in many situations. I know some Phantom Knight players are going to be upset, but I do think this was the right call from Konami to make sure that it kept other decks in balance. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on now to the limited cards. This means you can only have one per deck, and as you can see, there's actually a lot to talk about here. So first we have Altergeist Multi-Faker, which is probably the best card in the Altergeist deck. It's going to 1. I really don't think that they needed it to go to 1. 2 would have been a just fine hit in my opinion, but the deck is still going to work just fine at 1 because you still have a lot of the other key staples that makes that deck work so well. So that's not too big of an issue in my opinion. Next up, we've got White Dragon, Werver Burster, and Black Dragon, Collapsed Serpent. Both of these cards are now limited to 1, which I think it's in response to the Crusadia build. And if you guys don't know how that works, the Crusadia engine uses one of the link monsters to move one of the cards over that plays the Guard Dragon engine. And then after you have the Guard Dragon engine going, oh my gosh, the board you build can really shut down your opponent's ability to play. So I still think that the deck is okay though, especially with them playing 1 apiece. I still think it's going to be all right. It's hits, but it's not like it's devastating in my opinion. But I think the bigger issue is the Guard Dragons. I really don't think that they wanted to delimit them yet, but I really think that those are the cards that should be limited. Just because I think that eventually there's going to be other decks that figure things out with them that's going to abuse them, just like the Crusadia build did. And you kind of already see that going on with Red Eyes builds and also with Blue Eyes builds. So I really think the Guard Dragons are going to be an issue going forward. We'll see what happens. The next card that I want to talk about is Terraforming and Metaverse. Both of these get your field spell to you. Metaverse being really good because it allows it to play quickly. And I think the reason that they were limited to 1 apiece is because of Mystic Mine. For those of you who are not aware, Mystic Mine is really, really good. Shuts down so many different deck strategies, and a lot of players are using it here pretty effectively. So I can see why they hit it, but it really stinks for decks that use their field spells. So decks like Union Hanger, Zombie World, there's some decks, they gotta get that field spell out, and not having it really hurts its consistency. Speaking of consistency, Trickstar Light Stage going to 1, man, does that hurt that deck. If you're a pure Trickstar player, many people have been using the Trickstar engine in combination with other decks because it's so effective, but having it at 1 now, and Terraforming and Metaverse at 1 really hurts that deck going forward. Another deck being hurt going forward is Salamangreat. Now, we all knew this was coming. We expected Gazelle to get hit to 1 at least, but man, to hit Circle to 1 as well, they really hurt that deck. Because I could understand if they would have kept Gazelle at 1 and had Circle at 3, or Circle at 1 and Gazelle at like 2. That I think would have been more realistic of a hit on the deck. But don't count out this deck. It can still make really good boards with the deck or with the cards that are currently in the meta. So I sell an actual version online, a budget version that only has one circle and one gazelle. And it does take at least a turn to get going usually, but boy, once it starts going, it actually will work. So going forward, I think that there's going to be some players that come up with some unique ways to still use this deck, but I do not think that it is a tier 1 deck anymore. This is a tier 2 deck at best, and again, I don't know where it's going to go moving forward. Now, the next card is multi-roll for Sky Strikers. Now, this is a big hit limiting this card to 1 because it's so good at getting resources back, but they didn't hit anything else. So I think that this deck is still very viable, and if you've been on the fence waiting to buy it, I'd go ahead and get it. I actually think it's still going to work very well, especially with Mystic Mind still at 3. Okay, so that's it for the limited cards. Now we're going to look at the semi-limited cards, which means that you can only have 2 copies per deck. And the biggest thing that I noticed right away, Danger's got a little bit of a check on them, but not much. So if you're still a Thunder Dragon player, you're just fine with this. The Danger engine has not been touched that badly. You're going to be just fine. For Monarch players, it's exciting to see Ether, the Heavenly Monarch, back at 2. That does give that deck way more consistency now. So I am excited to see that because I'm a big Monarch fan. But the big thing going to 2, I feel, is Elemental Hero Stratos. That helps hero decks tremendously. I think you're going to see a resurgence with those. And then for Necros here, for Necros players, them being able to play a second copy there, that's going to make a big difference too. Okay, now on to the unlimited cards now, which means you can have 3 copies in your deck. There's some pretty cool ones here. Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer going to 3. That's pretty nice because it's got a really good pendulum effect, especially if you're using it with Purple Poison. Trish going to 3 is very interesting. I'm curious what kind of plays people might have to rip cards out of your hand. I'm not surprised that Dark Hole went back to 3. I've been saying this for a while. If Interrupted Kaiju's at 3 and has a bonus of getting a monster afterwards, I'm sorry, Dark Hole should be at 3. Monster Gate at 3, could be bad. So we'll see how that goes. I don't really see Rekindling doing too much there. But Solemn Judgment and Super Polymerization are the ones I really want to talk about. Solemn Judgment going to 3 is big. And I mean really, really big. And the reason I say it's so big, guys, it can stop so many different plays for the cost of half your life points, which you should be able to do at any time in this game. So it will stop those key cards that really stop a lot of your plays. So like, for example, Infinite Impermanence or Evenly Matched. If you're playing a deck that tries to stall, you're going to be able to make that work with Solemn Judgment. So I would highly suggest all of you pick up 3 if you're running some kind of rogue deck. The final card that I think is a big deal is Super Polymerization going to 3. Now, I've got several reasons why I feel this is a big deal. 1, it's a quick effect. So you can set it and use it on your opponent's turn. 2, your opponent cannot do anything to stop the card once it's activated. And 3, you can get rid of your opponent's cards that they're using to build their field. Because some cards, they have very heavy cards that they're using that are a certain type. So some might be just big machine decks. Well, if they are, if you use Chimera Tech Dragon there, well, notice as long as you've got a Cyber Dragon on the field, you wait for them to run all their machines, flip the Super Polymerization, and you have taken away all of their resources that they've been building. Same thing could happen if you're running against heavy spellcasters. It's because notice the Magician there. You only need 5 spellcasters. That's all you need to make it. So I could wait for all the Altergeist players to do their plays, flip the Super Polymerization, they have no chance to really respond because they set their traps on their turn. Or maybe I'm playing against Pendulum Magicians. There's so many different decks that this could be a huge issue with. And now with it being at 3, you've really got some big options that you can do with that card. So guys, that's it for my reaction to the ban list. I hope you found this video very helpful so you can see what to do going forward, maybe give you some strategies to be thinking about. Please let me know what you think down in the comments below. I always appreciate your feedback. If you liked this video, please hit that like button, and I'll see you guys next time.
Wait for your next challenge. I know that you'll be back.